Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I want to start this video off by saying to my past subscribers, if you're still here, thank you so much for still being here. I know that I lost a few because I haven't posted in the last couple of weeks. So if you are here, I'm very grateful that you are. And to all of my new subscribers, I just want to say welcome to my channel. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos you have seen. I don't know what happened, but in the past week alone, I have gained over 600 subscribers and I couldn't be more happy and more excited about it. You guys have really helped to lift my spirits, so thank you so much for subscribing and commenting. So I hope that I'm able to keep pleasing you guys with my DIYs, and hopefully you guys will see something you like in this video. And I know a lot of you loved the boho one, so stick around for the next video because I have a couple of boho DIYs in mind, and hopefully I can pull them off with the way that I'm thinking of doing it. So with all that being said, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this video started. So for the first DIY, I had these bicycle planters that I never ended up using, and I'm just going to be taking the planters off of them, and then I'm going to be using some of these paint stir sticks. So I just laid them down to see how wide I want my background to be, and I ended up going with 9 paint sticks. So I'm taking some of these giant craft sticks I had from Walmart. I'm just going to be cutting off the rounded tips, and then I'm going to use them to glue all of my paint sticks together using hot glue. Once that's done, I'm just going to place my planter on here and see where I want to position it at. I know that I want to cover up those dips in the sticks, and I am going to have to do something with these bolts. These bolts are actually underneath this metal plate, which is welded onto the planter. So I have no way to get rid of those bolts. So I'm going to start by drawing a line underneath of those dips in the stick, and that's where I'm going to lay my planter so that it's covering those up. Then I'm going to go ahead and mark around where those bolts are lying at, and I'm going to go and use my drill and drill a couple of holes right there. So once I do that, I need to figure out a way to make the back all straight so that when I hang it up on the wall, it's not slanted. And these Jenga blocks were the perfect width to conceal those bolts in the back. And because I didn't know how I was going to hang these up, I wanted these Jenga blocks to be completely straight and even with each other, so I just measured in one from the top and one Jenga block over from each side, and that's where I'm going to be placing these blocks at. So for the blocks, I am going to use a combination of hot glue and wood glue. Then I just added one of those Jenga blocks onto the bottom just to keep everything level. Once that was done, I went in with a couple coats of white chalk paint. And then once that was dry, I went in with some of this acrylic paint in the color Burnt Umber and an old paintbrush, and I'm just going to go through and dry brush some of this paint all over here. I know not everybody likes the distressed look, but I'm still kind of liking it, so that's what I decided to do. Once that's dry, I'm going to place the planters back into those holes, and I am going to add a little bit of hot glue right there in the middle to help secure it. And then on the back of one of these, I did drill my holes a little bit crooked, so I did have to make the holes bigger so that the planter could sit straight in there. And to keep the planter from sliding down and becoming uneven once it's hung up, I'm just going to place this popsicle stick on the back and hot glue it down in place with the planter straight on there so that those bolts can't slide down. And that's all I did for these, and now I have these adorable little planters to hang on the side of my window, which I have been wanting forever. So for the next DIY, I'm using one of these old frames from Dollar Tree, and I just had printed out this picture in there a couple of years ago. So I printed out this sign, and as you can see, I did have to go back in and rearrange the size of it so that I could reprint it out and have it fit in the frame. But I spray painted the frame white, and then I'm going in with some brown wax. And I've done this before on a couple of other items, and it always ends up looking like a nice wooden color. And I don't know if it's because I spray painted it and didn't use chalk paint, but this wasn't working out the way that it normally does. So I did have to paint the frame darker than I wanted to, but that's okay. So next I'm just going to start making my tassels. Using this cotton twine from Dollar Tree, I'm just going to wrap it around 3 of my fingers. I wrapped it around 20 times and then tied it off on the top and cut all of the loops on the bottom, and I did this 3 times. Then I just cut out a piece of string that's a little bit longer than the width of my frame, and taking a small wooden dowel, I am wrapping these tassels around it, and taking a piece of string, I'm just going to wrap it round and round right underneath that dowel, and then securing it with a little bit of hot glue. I then added some tape to the ends of my piece of string. And with that taped end, I'm just going to push it up against the dowel as I pull the dowel out so that I can loop these right onto those tassels. And I'm also going to put some wooden beads on here. Then I just straightened out all of the bottom, and then I put everything back inside the frame and close the tabs. I did put the piece of glass behind the paper because I don't want that glass look. So once everything's in there, I went ahead and just messed around with that string until I got it in the position I wanted it in. Once I was happy with the way that it looked, I flipped it over and glued those strings down to the cardboard in the back. And that's all I did for this one. I think this is a really simple picture to make, and I think it's beautiful. I did get this inspiration from Kirkland's, although Kirkland's is a big square picture and mine's smaller, but I think this is still a pretty good little dupe. For the last DIY, I am going to be using some of this nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I had a little bit left over from a previous project where I had already unraveled it. And I do end up using that whole rope unraveled, and I'm also going to be using one of these stove covers. I'm going to be using the smaller one, and I had planned on using these for my tier tray that I did a while back, which is why it's already painted and has a hole in the middle. So I'm going to take that piece of rope that was already unraveled. I'm just going to start wrapping it around itself, forming a circle and adding hot glue as I go. Then I'm gonna draw out a pattern on this tin, and you'll see as the video goes that I did not follow the pattern exactly as I drew it. but it was still nice to have those lines there to know where everything was centered at. So I just glued that circle that I started down to the middle of that tin. And then I'm taking some black yarn from Dollar Tree, and the way that I had it positioned right here is not the way that I ended up doing it, but this was a good way to start that very tip of my triangles. But the way that I thought I was gonna wrap this wasn't working out, so I did end up cutting those pieces off and going about it a different way. So you are going to use a lot of hot glue for this. You have to glue it all down as you go. Once I got to the next row and got back to where my triangles were, I just placed a little bit of hot glue and glued the piece of yarn down right where I wanted it to start at. And then I just wrapped it around and around at that piece of rope, pulling it tight and pushing it closely together as I went so that there's no rope color showing in between the black yarn. So once you get to the next row, you want to start your yarn a little bit outside of where the previous row started, and you're going to want to end that a little bit outside of where the previous row ended as well. That way you get a triangle shape and not just one square box. So this was a very time-consuming DIY. I worked on it over the course of a few days. It is a lot of wrapping, and it doesn't look like it when you look at it, but once you start and you're wrapping and wrapping, it does use a lot of yarn, it uses a lot of hot glue, and it does take some time and some patience. So just so you know that before you decide to start this, if you're interested in making one of these. But I think that a set of 3 of these would look really cute hanging up on a wall. So you can see that I didn't take the black triangles all the way out to the end. So then when I got to the sides where I was going to add another pattern, I decided to go with white. And the first row, I just wrapped a whole section of white yarn all the way across. And then for the next row, I was just kind of figuring this out as I was going. I wanted some type of little design. So I decided to stop when I got about halfway in and leave a section of rope showing in the middle, and then do another section of white for the outside. And for the last row, as you can see, it's already done on one side. I'm just going to take some more of the black yarn and I'm going to wrap it right above where that piece of rope is showing in the previous row. So then I just continued gluing and wrapping this rope all the way around, went up over the sides and all the way down to the bottom. I did run out of rope, so I wasn't able to wrap the actual back side of this. But if you're going to hang it on a wall or have it sitting down on a table as a tray, you don't really have to worry about that unless you want to. And I only had a little bit of rope left and it wouldn't have covered the whole bottom, so I just left it. And that's how I made this little tray. There's many things you can do with these. You can add whatever color yarns you want to add into these, make whatever shapes or patterns you want. This has so many possibilities to match so many different types of decor. So that's all I have for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, stick around for some more videos. Leave me a comment, let me know which one was your favorite and what you would like to see more of. I loved hearing from you guys the past couple of weeks. I got so many comments and I just loved it. So comment, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next one.